welcome to another episode of Disaster Empire Quick Views. This is the podcast where we talk to innovators and thought leaders in resilience. And so it's great to have Jason Haas with us here today. So thank you so much, Jason, for hopping on and joining the podcast. We're going to talk about operational resilience and his framework and systems. And so, Jason, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here.
Excellent. Well, hey, let's dive right in. So you've written an organizational resilience framework. So please share with the audience what that's all about.
Sure. I have been working on organizational resilience framework. And the idea with the framework is it focuses on the organization's people, culture, processes, and systems, and very much in that order. As in with any organization and its journey on resilience, it's about the ability of the organization and its people to withstand and recover from shocks and disruptions. So this takes a long-term view, looking at how to build resilience into the organization's DNA by focusing on agile leadership, a robust culture, and also technology is just as important as well. But I figure let's focus on the people because in the end, technology fails and we need people to show up.
I love that. As we were talking right before we jumped on, all about that people resilience and workforce resilience as well. So, so great that you dropped that in there. So I wanted to ask you about open technology solutions. And so as I understand it, you provide support to financial services, particularly IT support. Can you share with us kind of what's that all about and how does it support resilience?
Open Technology Solutions is a CUSO, which is a credit union service organization. We are owned by 3 of our credit union partners, both in the West and on East Coast. And the idea is about 20 some years ago, they got together and saying, we don't necessarily want to do IT. So they created this organization out of necessity, and OTS provides all of the IT services and support for these 3 credit unions, including another service organization that handles back office type work, loan origination, customer support, the call center. And it's really important with how this is all set up, knowing that people's net worth are, a line in a database, a table in a database. And with open technology, supporting the technology and making it resilient and robust and having the culture just as resilient and robust is really important to fulfilling the mission, not only to our partners, but thinking of the credit union customer experience. A great way to social unrest is to prevent people from accessing their capital when they need it the most. So it's really part of our mission to ensure that no matter what open technology experiences, that we're providing an exceptional service to our partners and to our customers.
Jason, it's great to hear that the service exists because I think of, community banks, right? And some of the challenge they're likely facing right now in the current environment. But credit unions and what a service they offer to their community. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing there. Hey, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests because, resilience is such a buzzword right now. What does it mean to you?
That is a loaded question, and I absolutely love it because it means so many different things depending on who you're talking to and how you mean resilience. Do we mean personal resilience, organizational resilience, operational resilience, however it's used? So I have multiple definitions on that. And for me, I really focus on a lot of personal resilience because that's how I came into this career, is via personal resilience. So it's not accepting things at face value, not accepting defeat, and always pushing forward no matter what. Adversity happens, challenges happen. It's really how we react and what we do about it that truly matters. And those who can successfully operate in the resilience space know how to rise above no matter what adversity or impacts that they are experiencing. For me, organizational resilience is a way of looking at an entire organization, the holistic view of how do we make all these pieces work together to survive and absorb adversity and bounce back even stronger. And then I look at operational resiliency, as in our IT infrastructure. How do we make sure those systems and processes and how they combine with people? And how do we ensure that those are resistant to impacts? And when they are impacted, that can bounce back quicker and stronger. And I think about that under the idea of the credit unions and impacting mom's ability to access her account, something I never, ever want to experience. So I put myself in that type of scenario in their shoes and try to understand and create that emotional connection of, if I'm impacting mom, what can I do different within my organization, within my operations, to make sure mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa never have an impact?
It's great to hear that perspective and that you're focusing on that customer journey, and down to that individual level and what that experience is going to be like for them. So definitely in resilience, working to be more proactive versus reactive, as you well know, because you were actually on the committee or helped to advise on the development of the ISO for organizational resilience. Can you share the journey with this audience, and what's it like to be on that committee, and how did organizational resilience come about in terms of its key components?
Right. And I'm relatively new into the ISO journey around 22316. I was, as part of one of my organizations that I'm part of, ICORS, where I've gotten a lot of my certifications around business continuity and the resilience discipline in general. They put a call out to their members looking for work group experts who may want to participate in these ISO committees. And I eagerly raised my hand and wanted to participate. And that's new for me this year. I've only had the opportunity to participate in a couple of meetings so far, but I find it absolutely fascinating as the committee reviews language and tries to clarify intent and meaning, and really just try to simplify the language that we use in our ISO guidance. We're currently on summer break right now, so I'm going to take this downtime to really familiarize myself with 22316 and read it from cover to cover. And it was really important to me to be part of the ISO committee, seeing how I'm practicing resilience every day, whether it's organizational, operational, personal, whatever you want to call it, and to have table stakes and skin in the game with resilience as we write the ISO or revamp the ISO has been really important to me, because I had the opportunity to practice this each day, to really think about how that language, what does it mean? What's its intent? What's its impact? And then bring back my personal experience with it, both personally, organizationally, operationally, back into the standard to help inform it from a working point of view.
Thanks for providing that insight and providing that clarification as to, how you're interacting with that work. And, it sounds like an exciting journey. So I wish you all the best as you move forward with the committee and doing that refresh. Well, hey, 2 words jumped out at me that you just spoke to. And so can you share your views on the difference between organizational resilience and operational resilience?
Yeah, and that's a good one. I look at organizational resilience as it's the entire organization. So I'm looking at leadership, culture, infrastructure, technology, risk management, as well as any continuous improvement initiatives. And to me, those are the main 6 pillars of organizational resilience, where we're going to look at the entire organization, see how all of these different pillars interact with each other. The idea is to eliminate and remove silos. So risk management isn't an island of their own. Cyber InfoSec is no longer an island of their own. Infrastructure, culture, and leadership, it all plays together because it comes from a top-down perspective. We need agile leadership to support a robust culture, to create a resilient infrastructure so we can use leading edge technology, so we can understand what our risks are like, and also knowing that we have to continuously improve. For me, that's organizational resilience in a nutshell. And then I look at operational resilience, that's more of the granular the operations of an organization. So we're looking still at our infrastructure, we're looking at our technology and our risk management, and we still lean heavily on continuous improvement, but it's more technology focused instead of more of the culture and agile leadership focus, but they definitely need each other. And also, these are just really kind of fancy terms for what we've all been doing forever: business continuity, disaster recovery, risk management. And I think we've always had agile leadership, and a lot of successful companies have always looked at really a positive culture of collaboration and communication. And most businesses that I've had the joy of being with firmly believe in continuous improvement, that we're never done learning. And just because we've done it a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way or the way forward.
Where does the big difference come in, do you think, between thinking of the org side of resilience and the operational side of resilience? Because I think a lot of people are getting hung up and confusing the terms, actually.
Right. For me, my interpretation of it, and this is the joy of resilience, it can mean so much to so many people. But for me, the organizational resilience is really focusing on the agile leadership and the culture, and having those layers of open communication and collaboration and eliminating those silos when possible. And the idea is, if we have agile leadership, a robust culture, when the technology fails, we're still going to need those people to show up. We can have great automation, AI, whatever the technology du jour is that day, we still are going to need people to show up no matter what. And for me, that's organizational resilience, is I'm looking at a people-first approach. How can I support them? How can leadership support the organization with policies, procedures, because they set the tone for the entire organization? And how can we lift everyone up to be more of a singular voice, to absorb that adversity and bounce back even stronger? And then operational technology, well, to me, that's more technical. That's where we get into the disaster recovery type responses, where we have smoking holes in the ground and we need to stand our infrastructure back up and connect our technology and our processes and our servers together, and how those all relate and are mapped together. And to me, I look, again, operational is about that infrastructure, our data centers, our technologies, our processes, where operational is more of the human element.
Let's dive a little bit deeper. I had a comment that I heard recently from a peer, which I thought was interesting, and he really was equating organizational resilience as an HR function, which was interesting. So can you dive a little bit deeper into your framework? And you talked about pillars and what it contains. How did it come about, and what's the practical application of the framework that you developed? I know I throw a lot in there.
Well, for me, I'll just break down the pillars. So for the part of the reason I'm approaching organizational resilience versus operational resilience is I love soft skills. I love building relationships. And with all the organizations that I have had the opportunity to align with, it's always been about the people. Working in K-12 education, using these same type of skills and going through the pandemic with it, it was always children first. How do we continue educating children in the worst of conditions, remote learning, COVID tests, masks, social distancing, and really just focusing on the experience of the children? Because we have to remember, during the pandemic, some children were just starting school, and this was what school was like to them, where they were in masks every day or hopping on a Zoom session or in Google Classroom and participating remotely. So bringing it around to the human element, looking at mental health concerns with a lot of these challenges. COVID brought opportunities and challenges to us, and it really shined a light onto mental health concerns, dealing with isolation, inequity to internet access, mass job loss, as well as job gains, and all of that. And it just gave me pause. And it's like, no matter what technology we have, no matter what critical infrastructure we have or risk management, it all boils down to people. People are what make businesses go. And it was really important to me to refocus my efforts around that with continuity and disaster recovery. Is we can recover technology. We have backup processes, run books, playbooks, work instructions. But how does that apply to people? People are a little bit different. And it doesn't necessarily always go to script, especially when people get into a fight or flight type mode, which is, the world is ending and we're all in panic and we just go to that lizard brain. So I looked at organizational resilience as a way to really exercise soft skills to support the human element in the organization. And it definitely can be argued that it is a function of HR, because I think you need a really agile HR director or department to really support a lot of these initiatives. And I'm fortunate enough at Open Technology Solutions, we have that, which was a perfect opportunity to take this work, these thoughts I've had for a while, put it into a framework and apply it to the organization. So we have the agile leadership that supports that dynamic culture, which then allows us to put in great, robust infrastructure and cutting edge technology, looking at our risks and developing a good risk appetite around that of us accepting them or not, and continuously improving. And it's more than just continuously improving the organization and its processes. It's about professional development as well, and growing our future leaders and investing in our people so they will have the experience and the knowledge to show up in the worst case of events to help the organization recover.
Thank you for that, Jason. And hey, can you share a brief bio for those in our audience who haven't met you before?
Sure. Like many in this discipline, my path was nonlinear. So I started out as a professional photographer, a photo lab owner in the Midwest, had way too many partners, though I wouldn't change that for the world. And after a while, moved out to Colorado to lay down some roots. So I was a professional photographer here in Colorado, and until I wasn't, I had a bad business dealing, which invoked my personal resiliency, and I pivoted into a career of IT and blossomed from there. But my background's a professional photographer. I'm a father of two. I've got a dog named Ziggy. We've had her for about a year now. I've been married going on, it'll be 14 years this October. Right. I have to make sure I get that right. It's my daughter's age plus one. That's how I remember it.
Great way to remember it. Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that we didn't get a chance to talk about already?
I wouldn't be here without some really great leaders in my life and mentors. A former leader of mine, Kent Micho, with Jeffco Public Schools, I blame him for getting me involved in this opportunity, and I am so thankful to him. Also to my current mentor, William Simmons. He's really helped me overcome some personal challenges through some interesting things as I kind of pole vaulted it into this industry, and coming to terms with imposter syndrome. It's real and it's challenging and it's so hard to overcome. So I'm thankful to all these people who helped me get through my own personal adversity to allow me to succeed.
So last, before we wrap up tonight, so can you share with the audience, what is the best way to connect with you? Is it LinkedIn or?
Yeah, one of the best ways to get a hold of me is LinkedIn. I'm very active on the platform, trying to author articles weekly, if not every other day on there. And I am heavily involved. So definitely look me up on LinkedIn, send me a connection. I'm happy to connect and talk with you.
Finally, is there a fun fact that you'd like to share with the audience?
A self-pride moment. So when I had the opportunity to start a photography business, I was the only person running the lab workflow. We were both photographers and a photo lab. Say the same production system that I put in 20 years ago is still operational with very little change. So for me, that's a proud business owner moment to know that I had such an impact to that, and that the workflow has worked so well that they've kept it around for this long.
That's great to hear. And it makes me think probably IT, good segue for logical workflows, definitely makes sense. So congrats on that. It's great to hear. Hey, so it was so great to talk to you, Jay. Thank you so much for coming on the channel, and to the audience, thank you again for listening through to another podcast. Like and subscribe. Please share it if you haven't already. It helps to grow the channel. And we thank you so much for being here and joining us on this podcast. Thank you, Jason, so much. Really appreciated talking to you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to your listeners for sticking through this. I really appreciate it. And the industry is better with more podcasts like this.
Thank you so much.